Hello, welcome to Living English. Today, we'll learn some more about how to talk about the past. We'll learn how to say that something has not happened and to ask about things that have happened. But first, here's the next episode of our drama. Remember, in the last episode, Anne had a message from John Barber, the private investigator. His message said he had some news. Today, Anne has gone to see John.
Have you found my brother?
Not yet. No. Not quite. But I have found something.
What is it?
I went to the university. You said he was a student. I spoke to his professor, the head of the course he studied.
And what did he say? Does he know what happened?
Well, no, not exactly. He didn't know where your brother went. But he told me David had left the university. He stopped going to lectures.
When did he stop?
Oh, about a year ago. He didn't tell anyone, but he left a letter with the professor.
A letter? Have you got it? Where is it?
The professor has it. He wouldn't give it to me because it was addressed to you. He left his card.
I'll go and see him. Thank you.
Oh, I found out something else.
Yes?
Your brother had a girlfriend.
Really? You didn't tell me. Who is she?
Well, I don't know yet, but I'm sure I can find her. We're closing in, Miss Lee. Fear not.
Thank you.
I'm sure they'll find Anne's brother in the future. Today, we're going to talk about the past. To talk about the past, we use words of action called verbs. See if you can hear the 5 verbs John uses to talk about past actions.
I went to the university. You said he was a student. I spoke to his professor, the head of the course he studied.
The 5 verbs used to show that the past is being talked about are went, said, was, spoke, and studied. We've looked at the past tense before on Living English. One way of changing verbs so that they refer to the past is to add a d sound, spelled ed. Study becomes studied. Notice that with words that end with a y, the y is changed to an I when id is added. Many of the verbs we use all of the time don't have id added to them. They're called irregular past tenses. See if you can hear one in this clip.
I spoke to his professor.
Spoke. I'm speaking to you now, and I spoke to you before about irregular past tenses. Practice saying it with the clip.
I spoke to his professor.
Some irregular verbs have a past tense that is very different from the present tense, such as the verb go. To talk about the future, we say that we will go somewhere. And to talk about now, we say that we are going somewhere. What do we say about the past? Listen.
I went to the university.
John went to the university. The past tense of go is went. Now listen for the past tense of say.
Said he was a student.
Said is the past tense of say. There are other ways of talking about the past where the verb doesn't change. Listen to Anne asking about the past without using the past tense of say.
And what did he say?
She uses the word did. What did he say? Did is the past tense of do. Did is a type of verb that's used with other verbs. In questions such as, "What did he say?" the word did is used to ask about the past with another verb such as say. But we don't use the past tense of that verb. We say, "What did he say?" Not, "What did he said?" What did he say? Let's try guessing the questions to some answers. If "he went to the university" is the answer, the question is, where did he go? Okay, what's the question for this? He said nothing. What did he say? He went that way. Where did he go? She studied drama. What did she study? Now listen to the past tense of stopped change to stop in the same way when Anne uses did in a question.
He stopped going to lectures.
When did he stop?
Try saying it with them.
He stopped going to lectures.
When did he stop?
Stopped is the past tense of stop. But in a question about the past, we use did with stop. When did he stop? In the next clip, listen to John use the past tense of tell, told.
He told me David had left the university.
Now listen to this.
He didn't tell anyone.
Didn't is the short way of saying did not. He did not tell anyone. No one was told. This negative form of did not or didn't, also makes past tenses. If we're talking about the past, we say, "I told you." But the negative is, "I did not tell you." Both of these phrases are talking about the past. Did not or didn't is like ed on the end of verbs or irregular past tense forms such as told. I told you. I didn't tell you. Now you try some. I said it. I didn't say it. I went away. I didn't go away. I studied drama. I didn't study drama. Try saying didn't tell with John.
He didn't tell anyone.
Now listen to Anne using didn't when talking about the past.
Your brother had a girlfriend.
Really? You didn't tell me.
It's time to say hello to Michelle. Hello, Michelle.
Hello, Brenton. Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to look at words such as didn't, that are really two words said together very quickly. These words are called contractions. Listen carefully to what John says when Anne asks him who her brother's girlfriend is.
Well, I don't know yet, but I'm sure I can find her.
There were two contractions in that clip. What were they, Brenton?
Don't and I'm. Don't is short for do not, and I'm is the contraction of I am.
Let's listen in the next clip for the contraction of did not.
He didn't know where your brother went.
What's the contraction of did not?
Didn't. Try saying it with the clip.
He didn't know where your brother went.
Now listen for the contraction of would not.
He wouldn't give it to me because it was addressed to you.
What's the contraction of would not?
Wouldn't.
Now it's your turn. What's the contraction of could not?
Couldn't.
What's the contraction of does not?
Doesn't.
What's the contraction of was not?
Wasn't.
What's the contraction of is not?
Isn't.
We always shorten not to n't, but sometimes we change the way we say the first word. Will not becomes won't. Do not becomes don't. Listen to John say, I don't know, and then say it with him.
Well, I don't know yet, but I'm sure I can find it. Well, I don't know yet, but I'm sure I can find it.
You've probably noticed that these contractions have apostrophes. Now, Brenton, the contraction of I am is I'm. Where do you put the apostrophe?
Well, that's easy. Between the I and the M.
What's the apostrophe for?
To show that a sound is missing. I am, I'm. The at sound is missing.
Now listen for two more contractions.
He wouldn't give it to me because it was addressed to you.
The two contractions are wouldn't and its. What's the missing sound in wouldn't?
The missing sound is O. Would not, wouldn't. So the apostrophe goes between the N and the T.
What is its short for?
Its is the contraction of it is. So the apostrophe comes between the T and the S. Now listen for another contraction.
We're closing in, Miss Lee. Fear not.
We're. What's the missing sound in we're?
The missing sound is A. We're, we are.
We learnt quite a lot today. Now you know that if you ask about an action in the past, you use did and the usual form of the verb, like this. Did you enjoy today's program?
Yes, I enjoyed it. Did you?
Yes, I did too. On our next program, we'll be talking about giving advice and finding out what an adverb is.
Hello, welcome to Living English. Today, we're going to find out about words which describe how people do things. We'll also look at giving advice. First, here's today's episode of our drama. In the last episode, Anne went to see the detective, John Barber. He told her that he hadn't found her brother, but there was a letter. Her brother's university professor has the letter. And now Anne is on her way to talk to the professor. She's going there by bus.
Hello, dear. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Are you sure? Is anything wrong?
No, I'm fine.
I watched you walking. You walk sadly. I'm old. I walk slowly, but you walk sadly.
Well, I do have a problem.
Not too serious, I hope.
I don't know. I hope not.
Worrying doesn't help, my dear. Think positively, it helps. Do something. Take action. You'll be all right.
I hope so. Thank you.
Where are you from, dear?
Singapore.
You speak English very well.
Thank you. Sometimes when people speak very quickly, I can't understand.
Don't worry, I speak slowly. And I see badly these days. What number bus is that, dear?
It's 190.
At last. It was nice talking to you.
You too.
In that episode, we saw the old lady give Anne some advice and sympathy. Sympathy is being concerned about other people. Listen to how the old lady shows her concern. First, she finds out if something is wrong.
Hello, dear. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Are you sure? Is anything wrong?
She calls Anne dear. Usually, we only call children dear, but old people often call young people dear. Anne is polite and says that she's very well.
Is anything wrong?
No, I'm fine.
She says that she's fine. This is the same as saying she's well or she is okay. There's nothing wrong. Try saying it with her.
Is anything wrong? Is anything wrong?
No, I'm fine.
The old lady doesn't believe her, and Anne admits that something is wrong.
Well, I do have a problem.
Notice that Anne says, I do have a problem, not just, I have a problem. She emphasizes do, because before she said she didn't have a problem. Now listen to the old lady show her concern.
Not too serious, I hope.
She could have said, I hope it's not serious. Listen to Anne's reply.
I don't know. I hope not.
Notice that Anne says, I hope not. We say not after hope instead of saying don't before it. For most verbs, such as know, think, or say, we say don't before them if they are negative. Listen to Anne again.
I don't know. I hope not.
I don't know, and I hope not. Say the negative of these. I say. I don't say. I think. I don't think. I understand. I don't understand. I hope. I hope not. Now listen to the advice the old lady gives Anne.
Worrying doesn't help, my dear. Think positively, it helps. Do something. Take action. You'll be all right.
She tells Anne to think positively. She means to think that good things will happen. Words that tell us how we do something are called adverbs. Doing words, such as think, are verbs, and words such as positively, that say how we think, are adverbs. Listen for the adverbs in this clip.
I watched you walking. You walk sadly. I'm old. I walk slowly, but you walk sadly.
The adverbs are sadly and slowly. They mean that Anne walks in a sad way and that the old lady walks in a slow way. We often add a ly sound to adjectives, the words that describe things. You can say that a snail is slow and that it moves slowly. Listen for 3 ly adverbs in this clip.
Sometimes when people speak very quickly, I can't understand.
Don't worry, I speak slowly. And I see badly these days.
Quickly, slowly, and badly. People speak quickly or they speak slowly. She sees badly. Now it's your turn to try some of these Lee adverbs. He is quiet. He speaks. He speaks quietly. She is loud. She speaks. She speaks loudly. She is happy. She walks. She walks happily. His thoughts are negative. He thinks. He thinks negatively. Not all adverbs have this Lee sound. See if you can work out which is the adverb in this clip.
You speak English very well.
It's well. She speaks English very well. Well is the adverb formed from the adjective good. And here's someone else who speaks English very well. Michelle Croden.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
What have you got today?
A pack of cards. I want you to build a house of cards.
Okay.
Tell the viewers how you're building it. Listen out for any adverbs Brenton uses.
I'm building it slowly and carefully. If I built it quickly, it would fall down. There.
You used 4 adverbs. Do you know what they were, Brenton?
Slowly, carefully, and quickly. What's the other one?
You said that if you built the house of cards quickly, it would fall down. Adverbs say something about verbs. What did you say about fall?
I said it would fall down. Down is the adverb.
Adverbs say how, when, and where things happen. They also say how well you do something, if you're bad at it or good at it.
You're good at English.
Yes, I speak English well. Listen again to the old lady at the bus stop telling Anne how well she speaks English, and then say it with her.
You speak English very well.
Very well. Remember that we use very with adjectives to mean more than. We also use very to do the same thing with adverbs. Listen again to Anne.
Sometimes when people speak very quickly, I can't understand.
She can't understand when people speak very quickly. Let's look again at adverbs. How did Brenton build the house of cards? Slowly and carefully.
How is this man walking? Very slowly and carefully.
Let's have a look at someone playing the violin. It sounds beautiful. How does she play? She plays beautifully. What's your violin playing like, Brenton?
My violin playing is bad.
How does he play? He plays badly.
How well do you play, Michelle?
I had lessons when I was younger. I play fairly well, but not as well as the woman we saw. How well does the woman we saw play? She plays very well. Give us a demonstration of your violin playing, Brenton.
Oh. Okay.
We were wrong. You play very badly.
Thank you, Michelle.
Now think about how well you play the violin. If you're very good, you play very well. If you're good, you play well. Then fairly well, badly, and very badly. Now say how well you play the violin. I play the violin.
How well do you speak English? I speak English. We also use well to describe how we're feeling. Listen to Anne.
Hello, dear. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
And how do you feel, Michelle?
Very well, thanks. And you?
Not so well. I've had a cold for the last few days. I feel tired.
Tired? There's not long to go, Brenton. When we talk about how we feel, we also use adjectives such as good or happy. I feel good, or I feel happy. If someone asks you how you are, you can say, I feel good, or just good. Practice now. How do you feel? I feel good. We showed Anne saying something similar earlier on. Remember?
Is anything wrong?
No, I'm fine.
I'm fine. What are some other ways to say this, Brenton?
I'm all right and I'm okay. We say these when someone asks if something is wrong. Try saying, I'm all right, and then I'm okay, instead of I'm fine with the clip.
Is anything wrong? Is anything wrong?
I'm tired.
You're lucky because that's all we have time for today. We'll see you next time when we look at language you can use when you catch a bus.
Hello, welcome to Living English. Today, we'll look at the language you need when catching public transport, such as a bus or a train. And we'll look at questions beginning with how. But first, let's catch up with Anne. In the last episode, Anne was waiting for a bus to go to the university where David's professor has a letter for her. Here she is, catching the bus.
Does this bus go to the university?
Yes, miss.
How much is that?
Single or day trip?
Sorry?
Are you coming back today?
Yes.
How long will you be at university?
I'm not sure. An hour, perhaps?
Single will do. You can use the same ticket to come back. That's $3, please.
How far is it?
Not far. About 4 kilometres from here.
How many stops is it?
About 10.
Thank you.
University. This is your stop, miss.
Oh, thank you. Where do I catch the bus to go back?
Just across the street, over there.
How often do the buses come?
Every 20 minutes. You won't have to wait long. It's 10:30. The next one's at 10:40 and then 11 o'clock.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Have a good day.
Let's look at language you need to catch a bus or a train. First, let's look at what Anne asks the bus driver.
Does this bus go to the university?
Practice this phrase with Anne in the clip now.
Does this bus go to the university?
She uses the simple present, using does or do because the bus goes to the university every day. It is a regular action. Practice with some other destinations. the city? Does this bus go to the city? The beach. Does this bus go to the beach? But maybe you don't know which bus goes to where you want. Then you would say, which bus goes to the university? Try this with some other destinations. The airport. Which bus goes to the airport? The shopping centre. Which bus goes to the shopping centre? Now listen again to Anne as she works out which ticket she has to buy.
How much is that?
Single or day trip?
Sorry?
Are you coming back today?
Yes.
There are two types of ticket. Anne has to choose which one she wants. Her answer should be one or the other. We use or when there is a choice. You can buy a single ticket or a day trip ticket, but not both. Let's look now at some of the other questions that the bus driver and Anne ask each other.
How long will you be at university?
I'm not sure. An hour perhaps?
Try asking how long about some other things. Will you be gone? How long will you be gone? Will it take? How long will it take? We could say, how long will it take for something we are waiting for? If I was getting my car fixed, I could ask, how long will it take? The answer is an amount of time. What does Anne answer to the bus driver's question?
I'm not sure. An hour perhaps?
Anne isn't sure how long she will be at the university. She thinks it might be an hour, so she says perhaps. An hour perhaps. She could have said maybe. An hour maybe. Listen to another question starting with how.
How far is it?
Not far, about 4 kilometres from here.
The question is, how far is it? How far is asking about distance. How much distance is it from where we are now? So how long is about time, how far is about distance. Try asking how far is it with Anne.
How far is it?
And what does the bus driver say about how far it is? He gives two answers. Listen.
Not far, about 4 kilometres from here.
First he says, not far. This is a general answer. He means it is not a great distance. Then he says more exactly how far it is, but he still says about. About 4 kilometres means approximately 4 kilometres. It could be a bit more or a bit less. Now let's look at another how question.
How many stops is it?
About 10.
Anne asks how many stops, so the answer has to be a number. And the bus driver says about 10. It could be 1 or 2 more or less than 10. And here's Michelle. Hello, Michelle.
Hello, Brenton. Hello, everyone.
How are you?
Good, thanks. Well, you just asked me how I am, and you've been looking at how questions. So let's look at them a bit more.
Good idea.
There are a number of common types of questions starting with how. We've already seen that how long asks about time.
Oh, excuse me. I've got to go.
How long will you be?
Not long.
How long can also ask about the length of something. Here's a piece of rope. How long is it? I'll have to measure it. It's 25 centimetres long. We can ask questions like this about anything that can be measured. You're back.
I said I wouldn't be long.
You can help me measure this box. Firstly, how long is it?
It's 36 centimetres long.
And how wide is it?
It's 25 centimetres wide.
And how high is it?
It's 20 centimetres high.
Now you try. First ask the questions, then answer. First ask about length. How long is it? 36 centimetres. It's 36 centimetres long. Now ask about the width. How wide is it? 25 centimetres. It's 25 centimetres wide. Now ask about height. How high is it? 20 centimetres. It's 20 centimetres high.
Anne also asked, how far is it?
Yes, she asked about distance. Here are 2 cups. How far is it from this cup to that cup?
It's 28 centimetres.
So we use how far to talk about the distance from one place to another place, and how long to talk about the length of one object.
How long are you, Michelle?
We don't use how long to talk about people, we use how tall. How tall are you?
Oh, that's right. Or we can say, what is your height?
You can use how in front of any adjective that can be measured or compared with other things. Here's a book. What can you ask about the book?
I could ask, how thick is that book?
It's very thick. What else?
How interesting is that book?
It's very interesting. It's all about English words.
How useful is that book?
It's quite useful if you're studying English.
Here's my coffee. What can you ask about the coffee beginning with how?
How hot? Now you ask. How hot is your coffee?
It's very hot.
Sweet. How sweet is your coffee?
It's not sweet at all. I don't like sweet coffee.
Good. How good is your coffee?
It's pretty good.
Anne asks one other how question in our episode. Let's look.
Where do I catch the bus to go back?
Just across the street, over there.
How often do the buses come?
Every 20 minutes. You won't have to wait long. It's 10:30. The next one's at 10:40 and then 11 o'clock.
What was the how question Anne asked? Listen again.
How often do the buses come?
She asked, how often do the buses come? How often means how many times a day or how many times an hour. What does the bus driver reply?
Every 20 minutes.
The buses come every 20 minutes. Let's look at a timetable. We can see on this timetable that buses come every 10 minutes. There's one at 9 o'clock and one at 10 past 9.
So they come often.
Yes, but on Sunday, they don't come so often.
On Sunday, they only come once every hour.
We've looked before at words you can use to talk about how often you do things. Do you remember them? Repeat them after me. Never. occasionally, sometimes, often, always. But you can also add words to these. Very often, fairly often, not very often. So let's look at our timetable again. The buses come every 10 minutes. So how often do the buses come? Very often. And how often do the buses come on Saturdays? Every half an hour. Fairly often. And how often do the buses come on Sunday? Only every hour. Not very often.
Better stay home on Sunday.
And finally, let's look at what the bus driver says as Anne gets off the bus.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Have a good day.
He says, "Have a good day." This is a way of saying goodbye politely and in a friendly way. Practice with the clip.
Thanks. Goodbye. Thanks. Goodbye.
Have a good day.
And it's time for us to say goodbye too. Hello, and welcome again to Living English. Today, we'll be looking at writing personal letters and at some very important words called pronouns. But first, it's time for today's episode of Sisters and Brothers. Remember, the private detective told Anne that her brother's professor at the university had a letter for her. In this episode, she meets the professor.
I'm sorry to hear your brother's gone missing, Miss Lee.
We're all so worried. I've come to Adelaide to look for him. How long did he study here?
I'm not sure. 2 semesters.
Did he get good grades?
I'm afraid not. I don't think computer science was the right direction for him.
The investigator, Mr. Barber, said you have a letter from David.
Ah, of course. It's addressed to you. I told him I'd only give it to you in person.
Dear Anne, please don't look for me. I need to be by myself. I can't study anymore. Tell Mum and Dad to forget about me and take care of themselves. You too, look after yourself. I'm sorry. Love, your brother David.
Here.
Who was David with? You'll have to keep watching to find out. Today, we're going to look at letter writing. We've looked at formal letter writing before on Living English. This time, we'll look at personal letter writing. First, let's look at how to begin.
Dear Anne, please don't look for me.
Calling someone dear is old-fashioned. We mostly say dear to children. But we still use it when starting a letter. Dear Anne. This letter is not formal. David is Anne's brother. So he writes Dear Anne and not Dear Ms. Lee. How do you finish a personal letter? Listen.
Look after yourself. I'm sorry. Love, your brother David.
He writes, love your brother David. He could have just written, love David. Of course, you only use love with family members or very close friends. Now let's listen to some more of the letter.
Please don't look for me. I need to be by myself.
David uses the word myself. The self words are called reflexive pronouns. To understand how to use them, you need to know what a subject, an object, and a personal pronoun are. Personal pronouns are the words such as I, he, she, we, you, and they. There are different ways of saying these personal pronouns. In this clip, listen carefully to the words Anne uses for her brother.
I've come to Adelaide to look for him. How long did he study here?
She calls her brother him and he. Why does she use different pronouns for the same person? First, let's look at how she uses him.
I've come to Adelaide to look for him.
Say, I've come to Adelaide to look for him with Anne.
I've come to Adelaide to look for him.
We don't say, I've come to Adelaide to look for he. We say him. This is because Anne's brother is the object of the sentence. Let's have a closer look at a simple sentence. She came to look for him. Sentences usually have a subject and an object. In English sentences, most of the time, the subject of the sentence comes first. The subject in this sentence is she. What has she done? She came to look for. The subject of a sentence is the person or thing that does something or performs the action. She came to look for. The object of a sentence is the person or thing that is affected by the action. She came to look for him. Most pronouns have two forms. One we use as the subject of a sentence, and the other we use as the object. He is the subject. Him is the object. He helped him. She is the subject. Her is the object. She helped her. I is the subject. Me is the object. But I can't say, I helped me. I have to say, I helped myself. The self pronouns are used when the subject and the object of the sentence are the same person. When we say, he helped him, we mean that one man, he, helped another man, him. But if I say, I helped me, both I and me must be the same person. So we use the reflexive pronoun myself. I helped myself. Now you try, using the other reflexive pronouns. He, himself. He helped himself. You, yourself. You helped yourself. We, ourselves. We helped ourselves. They, themselves. They helped themselves. Notice how ourselves and themselves are plural, because we and they are always more than one person. But you can be one person or several people. So you can say, you helped yourself if you are talking to one person, or you helped yourselves if you are talking to more than one person. Listen to David again.
I need to be by myself.
I need to be by myself. Another way of saying this is, I need to be on my own. David wants to be alone and not see his family. Now see if you can remember and say the pronoun used in the next clip. Is it he or him?
I don't think computer science was the right direction. I don't think computer science was the right direction for him.
Him. Now say the pronoun in this clip.
How long did he study here?
I've had enough of being by myself. Here's Michelle. Hello.
Hello, Brenton. Hello, everyone. What have you been talking about?
Pronouns.
All by yourself?
Yes.
You need me to help you. What pronouns can you use for me?
Let's see. I can call you you if I'm talking to you, and I can call you she if I'm talking to the audience. Do you understand?
Yes.
Does she understand?
What's the pronoun for you and me?
We.
What's the pronoun for the audience?
They. Remember that some of these pronouns have different forms when they are the object of a sentence. What form of they is used as the object, Michelle?
Them.
What about we?
Us. Now it's your turn to try some. We like you to watch us. My neighbours are noisy. What can I do about them? Now listen for the reflexive pronoun in this clip.
Tell Mum and Dad to forget about me and take care of themselves.
Tell Mum and Dad to take care of themselves. Complete these sentences with me. Tell Dad to take care of... Tell Dad to take care of himself. Tell Mum to take care of... Tell Mum to take care of herself.
What do you say about an animal? What about my cat?
It can take care of... It can take care of itself.
What about you?
You can look after... You can look after yourself. Now listen to David and then say, look after yourself with him.
You too. Look after yourself.
When we say, look after yourself, to someone, we mean we hope they will stay well. It's a nice thing to say when saying goodbye.
Remember before we said that the pronoun for the audience was they.
Yes.
It's only they if we're talking about them.
Well, what do you say if you're talking to them?
When we're talking to people, we say you. You are watching us. Now, they can look after themselves. And you can look after yourselves.
Yourselves?
I hope there's more than one person watching. Try saying themselves with David.
Tell Mum and Dad to forget about me and take care of... Tell Mum and Dad to forget about me and take care of themselves.
Well, we looked at a lot of pronouns today.
We sure did.
There are different forms of pronouns if they are the subject of the sentence or the object of it. And if the subject and object are the same person, we use reflexive pronouns. I enjoyed myself today, and I'm sure Brenton enjoyed himself. We hope you enjoyed yourselves.
In our next episode, we'll tell you all you need to know about should and would, some words for giving advice.
They have been a good audience, haven't they, Brenton?
Yes, and I think they will enjoy taking another look at today's episode of our drama. Bye.
Look after yourselves.
I'm sorry to hear your brother's gone missing, Miss Lee.
We're all so worried. I've come to Adelaide to look for him. How long did he study here?
I'm not sure. 2 semesters.
Did he get good grades?
I'm afraid not. I don't think computer science was the right direction for him.
The investigator, Mr. Barber, said you have a letter from David.
Ah, of course. It's addressed to you. I told him I'd only give it to you in person.
Dear Anne, please don't look for me. I need to be by myself. I can't study anymore. Tell Mum and Dad to forget about me and take care of themselves. You too. Look after yourself. I'm sorry. Love, your brother David.
Here.
Hello, and welcome to Living English. Last time in our drama, Anne got a letter from her brother telling her that he doesn't want her to look for him. Today, Anne gets advice from the professor about what she should do.
Here.
I don't know what to do.
I think you should go to the police.
But he says I shouldn't look for him.
Yes, well, he might have felt that way then, but a year's a long time. If I were you, I'd report your brother missing.
Should I tell my parents about the letter?
Oh, your poor parents. They must be so worried. I think you should tell them what you know.
What if I can't find him?
Have faith. I'm sure you will. You know your brother. You'll find him. I'll show you out. Well, good luck, Miss Lee.
I don't know what else to do.
Why don't you advertise in a newspaper? Put a photograph of your brother there. Somebody might recognize him.
Good, I hadn't thought of that.
My advice is never give up.
Thank you for your help.
When you find your brother, say hello to him for me.
I will.
So Anne will keep looking for her brother. The professor, Graham, told Anne some things she could do to find her brother. Telling people things in this way is called giving advice or making suggestions. Let's listen to the advice Graham gives Anne.
I think you should go to the police.
Graham makes it clear that this is his opinion by saying, I think. It's what he thinks is the best thing to do. What other word does he use that shows that he is giving advice? Listen again.
I think you should go to the police.
He says should. We use should to give advice or make suggestions. Try saying, I think you should go to the police with him.
I think you should go to the police.
Another way of saying this is, I think you ought to go to the police. Ought to has the same meaning as should. We use it for things we think are good or right to do. What word do we use for things that are wrong to do? Listen.
But he says I shouldn't look for him.
The opposite of should is shouldn't or should not. We use it to advise against doing things, such as you shouldn't smoke. We can also use should in questions if we're asking for advice. Listen to Anne.
Should I tell my parents about the letter?
Notice that when we ask a question, should comes before the pronoun. Words like I and you. When you say should after a pronoun, such as I should tell my parents, it's a statement, saying what you think is the right thing to do. When you say should before should I tell my parents, it's a question, asking if that is the right thing to do. Let's listen to Graham's answer.
Your poor parents. They must be so worried. I think you should tell them what you know.
Again, Graham gives his advice in the same way. I think you should. Now it's your turn to give me some advice. I'm hungry. What should I do? I think you should eat something. I'm thirsty. What should I do? I think you should drink something. My hair is too long. What should I do? I think you should have a haircut. Should Anne keep looking for her brother? I think Anne should keep looking for her brother. Graham suggests some ways that Anne can keep looking. Listen.
Why don't you advertise in a newspaper? Put a photograph of your brother there. Somebody might recognize him.
Graham says, why don't you? This is not a question he wants an answer to. It's a way of offering a suggestion or an idea. Why don't you advertise in the newspaper? Say it with Graham.
Why don't you advertise in a newspaper?
Anne doesn't answer yes or no. She just accepts the advice. Listen.
Good, I hadn't thought of that.
Here's Michelle. Hello, Michelle.
Hello, Brenton. Hello, everyone.
What should we do today?
Why don't we look at how to give advice?
What about?
How to look after a plant. I just happen to have a plant here.
Well, what do you need to do to keep a plant like this alive?
You have to water it. If you don't water it, it will die.
You have to. That means you have no choice. It's the only thing to do. What's another way of saying have to?
Must. You must water the plant to keep it alive.
What else must you do?
Well, you can just water it and it will live for a long time. But if you want it to look healthy and keep growing, you should feed it.
Feed it?
Give it fertiliser. You should give it fertiliser, like this. In the water every month or so.
Oh. Well, what else should you do?
You should put it in a bigger pot when it's grown a bit more.
Thanks for that advice, Michelle. And now let's listen to some more good advice from Graham.
My advice is never give up.
Never give up. What does that mean, Brenton?
It means don't stop trying or keep going.
Let's keep going with what to do with plants. See if you can remember. You water a plant. You must water a plant.
You could also say that you have to water a plant.
Yes, and you feed a plant. You should feed a plant. Sometimes you put it in a bigger pot. You should put it in a bigger pot.
I just remembered something.
What?
I should have watered my plants at home.
You don't have to water them every day. You can do it when you get home. But you've shown us that you can use should to talk about the past as well as giving advice about the future.
How?
You said, I should have watered my plants. We say should have for things that would have been good to do in the past.
Oh, like saying, I should have stopped smoking years ago.
Yes. We use should have to say we regret something or we wish we had done something.
Like saying when you've done badly in an exam, I should have studied more. Or when the car stops going, I should have put fuel in the car.
Yes. And what do you say about this? Someone watered it. Someone should have watered it.
Now let's think about another word that sounds like should. See if you can hear it in this clip.
If I were you, I'd report your brother missing.
I'd means I would. He said he would report her brother missing.
Yes, and he also says, if I were you.
What does that mean?
It's a way of giving advice again. He means that it's what he would do if it were his problem. Listen again.
If I were you, I'd report your brother missing.
Let's practice using the phrase, if I were you, about the plant. You give me your advice. First, about watering the plant. If I were you...
If I were you, I would water the plant.
Next, about feeding the plant. If I were you...
If I were you, I would feed the plant.
Let's say I'm sick.
Oh.
I should go home to bed. What would you say to me? If I were you...
If I were you, I would go home to bed.
Let's say I'm thirsty. I should drink some water. What would you say? If I were you...
If I were you, I would drink some water. Would is a form of will. Remember that we use will for things we are going to do.
Yes, we use will for things we intend to do. We use would in a similar way, but to talk about situations we wish or imagine were going to happen.
The professor isn't going to report her brother missing. It's not something he will do. It's something he imagines he would do if he was in the same situation as Anne.
Now see if you can use the right word, will or would. I wish it stopped raining. I wish it would stop raining. I drive home later. I will drive home later. It be good to be very rich. It would be good to be very rich. You can also use will to reassure someone, to make them feel better about what is going to happen. Listen to Graham reassure Anne.
What if I can't find him?
Have faith. I'm sure you will. You know your brother. You'll find him.
Graham uses will in this way to say to Anne that he is sure she will find her brother.
Today, we learnt some of the things to say when giving advice. and how to use the words should and would.
Next time, we'll find out what to say when you're giving your opinion about something and the words we use to compare things.
Until then, enjoy another look at today's episode of Sisters and Brothers. Bye.
Bye.
I don't know what to do.
I think you should go to the police.
But he says I shouldn't look for him.
Yes, well, he might have felt that way then, but a year's a long time. If I were you, I'd report your brother missing.
Should I tell my parents about the letter?
Oh, your poor parents. They must be so worried. I think you should tell them what you know.
What if I can't find him?
Have faith. I'm sure you will. You know your brother. You'll find him. I'll show you out. Well, good luck, Miss Lee.
I don't know what else to do.
Why don't you advertise in a newspaper? Put a photograph of your brother there. Somebody might recognize him.
Good, I hadn't thought of that.
My advice is never give up.
Thank you for your help.
When you find your brother, say hello to him for me.
I will.
Welcome to Living English. In our drama today, Anne visits a winery, a place that makes wine, and gives her opinion about their wine. She also does some business and gets a good price for the best wine. After the drama, we'll look in detail at the words we use to compare more than two things. Here's today's episode of Sisters and Brothers.
These are our whites. Why don't you try the Chardonnay first? It's our best-selling wine.
Lovely.
Good fruit. Perhaps a little immature?
Yes, it's made from some of our youngest vines. It is our most popular white at the moment. Try this Riesling.
It's very pale, isn't it?
A lot of our customers are finding it very attractive.
It's a bit too dry for our market. I think we'll leave that one. But I like the Chardonnay. I think we can sell that.
Excellent.
Let's try the reds.
Our reds are as good as any you'll find around here.
What have we got here?
This is our Cabernet Sauvignon. It's very popular.
A bit too much fruit at this stage. I understand it wasn't a good year for Cabernet in this district.
You know your wines, Miss Lee.
I try to be prepared. What's your best red?
This one. Our Shiraz. And we think it's world class.
It's lovely colour. Deepest red.
What vintage is this?
It's 3 years old now. It'll drink well for years yet, but you can drink it right now too.
And what's the price?
Well, it's our most expensive wine at $50 retail.
I'll think about it. It's certainly got potential, but there are a lot of wines around in this class these days. You've got a lot of competition, Tim.
That's for sure. But we can work out a special price for you if you're interested.
I'm definitely interested. This is very good. Sarah knows our requirements and pricing position. I'm sure you can work out something with her.
I'm sure we can.
Let's look at how Anne gives her opinion about the wine. She uses adjectives to describe it. First, she gives her opinion about the Chardonnay, a type of white wine.
Good fruit. Perhaps a little immature?
She says the fruit is good. The fruit means the grapes used to make the wine. And she says, perhaps a little immature. Immature means too young, not ready. By saying perhaps, she is showing that she is giving her opinion, saying what she thinks. It's more polite than just saying, it's too immature. You try making some suggestions using perhaps. You'd like to come with me. Perhaps you'd like to come with me. It's time to go. Perhaps it's time to go. You're wrong about that. Perhaps you're wrong about that. Now, what does Sarah say about the Riesling, another type of white wine?
It's very pale, isn't it?
She says, it's very pale, isn't it? Pale means it doesn't have a strong colour. By saying, isn't it, she shows she is giving her opinion. She wants the others to agree with her. Isn't it is short for is it not, which is the same as saying, don't you think? Try using isn't it with these sentences. It's hot. It's hot, isn't it? It's funny. It's funny, isn't it? But be careful. You only use isn't it when the subject is it. For example, I would say, he's funny, isn't he? You're late, aren't you? They run fast, don't they? Now look at another way Anne gives an opinion.
A bit too much fruit at this stage.
Anne tasted 4 wines. The first one she tasted was better than the second one, and the last one was the best of them all. Words such as best are called superlatives. We use adjectives, describing words, in a different way to compare more than 2 things. One way of doing this is to add an est sound to the adjective. Listen.
It's lovely colour, deepest red.
This is deep red. This is deeper red. And this is the deepest red. Practice saying the deepest red with the clip.
It's a lovely colour, red. It's a lovely colour, the deepest red.
Now listen out for another superlative.
Yes, it's made from some of our youngest vines.
Youngest. None of the vines are younger. Young and deep have one main sound or syllable. Young, deep. When a word has more than 2 main sounds or syllables, we don't add an est sound to form the superlative. The word expensive has 3 syllables. Ex, pen, sieve. Now listen to its superlative form.
Well, it's our most expensive wine at $50 retail.
Most expensive. With longer words, we add most or the most to form the superlative. Repeat these after me. This wine is expensive. This wine is more expensive than that one. This is the most expensive of all the wines. But with shorter words, we add and est to the end of the word. Repeat these phrases after me. This wine is pale. This wine is paler than that one. This wine is the palest of all. In our next clip, listen for the superlative of another three-syllable adjective, popular. Popular.
It is our most popular white at the moment.
Most popular. And here's the most popular person on Living English, Michelle Crowden. Hello, Michelle.
Hello, Brenton. Hello, everyone. Here are 3 potatoes. First, let's arrange them in order of size. Brenton, can you do that?
I think so. There you go.
So this one is bigger than this one, and this one is bigger than this one. So this one is the biggest. And as we've already seen, we add to big to make bigger and compare 2 things, and est to big to make biggest when we're comparing more than 2 things. What else happens to the word big?
It has an extra G.
That's right. The extra G tells us that the word is pronounced biggest and not biggest. What's another example?
Hot. Hotter. Hottest.
And what's the opposite of big?
Small. Small. Smaller. Smallest. It already has a double letter at the end.
Now I want you to put these in order of their weight.
Oh, okay. I think this one is heavier than this one, but this one is heavier than both of the others, so it's the heaviest.
Let's check. Now this one. Heavier?
That's heavier.
Yeah, okay. And this one.
This one's heavier than both.
So it's the heaviest. What happens to the word heavy when we add the and est endings?
The Y changes to an I before we add the endings. This happens with other words too.
Such as lucky, luckier, luckiest.
And happy, happier, happiest.
So this is the heaviest potato, but which one is the lightest?
This one. Light, lighter, lightest.
Now let's look at another way of comparing things. Listen to Tim, the winemaker.
Our reds are as good as you'll find in this area.
Tim said that their reds, that is, their red wines, were as good as any others in that area. Let's look at the expression as good as. Tim is saying that his wine is good and the other wines are good too. Here are 2 donuts. I want you to do a taste test, Brenton. Okay. Which donut is better?
If you insist.
So is this donut better than that one?
Not really. No.
Is it worse than that one?
No, I don't think so. I think they're both equally good.
So we would say this donut is as good as that one.
They're both equally as sweet.
You can use any adjective instead of good. So we would say, this donut is as sweet as that one.
They're both equally delicious.
What would we say? This donut is as delicious as that one.
And they're both equally round.
This donut is as round as that one. And they're both fattening.
Well, yes, this donut is as fattening as that one.
We could also say, this donut is just as fattening as that one. But this donut is the most fattening.
Yes, and the most delicious.
It's the best. Goodbye.
Hello, and welcome to Living English. Today in our drama, Anne goes to the market to buy food for a dinner she is going to make for Sarah and Mark. Listen for the words she uses to ask for the things she needs. Here's Sisters and Brothers.
Who's next, please?
Could I have some prawns, please?
Fresh, frozen or cooked?
Frozen, please.
How much do you need?
About 500 grams, please.
That'd be $10, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I help you?
Some of these leeks.
How many, love?
3.
Something else?
Some ginger?
Right there, love.
Oh, right. Just this piece, please.
Okay.
Do you have any bean sprouts?
Yes, we do. How much would you like?
About 100 grams?
Will that be all?
Yes, thanks.
That'll be $4, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Who was that in the crowd? You'll have to keep watching to find out. Today, we'll be looking at the words we use for amounts or quantities. Listen to how Anne asks for an amount or a quantity.
Could I have some prawns, please?
It's a request, so Anne says, could I and please. Could I have some prawns, please? Practice saying it with her.
Could I have some prawns, please?
Anne asks for some prawns. We use some for amounts that are not definite or exact. Listen to Anne use the word some again.
Can I help you?
Some of these leeks.
She doesn't want all the leeks, just some of them. What else does she want at that stall?
Something else?
Some ginger?
Some ginger. She wants an amount of ginger. What other word did Anne use to ask for an amount of something? Listen.
Do you have any bean sprouts?
Any. You can use any instead of some in questions about amounts. Do you have any bean sprouts? Is the same as, do you have some bean sprouts? We also use any with a negative such as don't to mean none. The attendant could have said, we don't have any. That means they have none. But you can't say, we don't have some. What does the attendant say? Listen.
Do you have any bean sprouts?
Yes, we do. How much would you like?
He says, yes, we do. He could have said, yes, we have some. You can use some for a positive amount. Let's practice. I have no bananas. I don't have bananas. I don't have any bananas. Here are bananas. Here are some bananas. Now, what word does the attendant use to ask Anne what amount she wants? Listen again.
Do you have any bean sprouts?
Yes, we do. How much would you like?
How much? We use the word much when asking for the amount of something that someone wants. Try saying, how much would you like, with the attendant.
How much would you like?
We say how much for things we measure and weigh, such as quantities of food. Listen to what Anne says in reply.
About 100 grams?
She would like about 100 grams. 100 grams is a weight. She wants that amount measured on the scales. Here's some sugar. Let's see how much it weighs. It weighs about 300 grams. Watch and listen to Anne getting the quantity of prawns she wants.
How much do you need?
About 500 grams, please.
Notice that Anne said about 500 grams and about 100 grams. She means that it doesn't have to be exactly those weights. It could be 505 grams or 99 grams. Now listen to what the attendant asks about the amount of leeks Anne wants.
How many, love?
The attendant has asked how many. He's not asking about weight. How will Anne reply? Listen.
How many, love?
3.
3. When you're asked how many things you want, you reply with the number that you want. Anne wants 3 leeks. How many presenters are there on Living English? 2. There's Michelle and me. Hello, Michelle.
Hello, Brenton. Hello, everyone.
What have you brought in today?
Some eggs.
How many?
A dozen.
What's a dozen?
A dozen is 12 things. This is a dozen eggs. Eggs are sold as a dozen, or a half a dozen.
A half a dozen is 6?
Yes. Do you like boiled eggs, Brenton?
Yes, but I don't like them too hard. I like the yolk to be soft.
How do you make sure that you boil the eggs in water for just the right amount of time?
I use an egg timer like this. It shows just how much time has passed.
Now it's time for you to say much or many to make the question to my answers. My first answer is, I boil the eggs for 2 minutes. What's the question? For how time do you boil the eggs? For how much time do you boil the eggs? I boil the eggs for 2 minutes. Now another answer. I have 3 eggs. What's the question? How eggs do you have? How many eggs do you have? I have 3 eggs. The eggs weigh 60 grams. What's the question? How do the eggs weigh? How much do the eggs weigh? The eggs weigh 60 grams. The eggs cost $2 a dozen. How did the eggs cost? How much did the eggs cost? The eggs cost $2 a dozen. Now let's listen again to how much Anne's prawns cost.
Maybe $10, thank you.
That's quite a lot.
She bought quite a lot of prawns. 500 grams is half a kilogram. Sometimes I only want a few prawns and I ask for a dozen.
So a few is a dozen?
No, a few can be a dozen and it can be 5. A few can be any small number more than 2. Anne paid a few dollars for the bean sprouts. Let's listen to how the attendant asked her for those few dollars.
That'll be $4, thanks.
Of course, he doesn't ask her for a few dollars, he asks her for the exact amount. He said, "That'll be." This is short for "that will be" and means the price is, or could you please give me? Try saying it with him.
That'll be $4, thanks.
What word is the opposite of a few, Brenton?
The opposite of a few is many. Here are a few pens. And here are many pens.
Now it's your turn. There are matches in this box. There are a few matches in this box. There are matches in this box. There are many matches in this box. Now, let's look at what amount of ginger Anne buys.
Something else?
Some ginger?
Right there, love.
Oh, right. Just this piece, please.
Okay.
Anne bought a piece of ginger. The parts of things that can be broken up are called pieces. What have you got there, Brenton?
A block of chocolate.
Can I have some, please?
Yes, I'll give you a piece.
Thanks.
It's nearly time for our coffee break.
I'll pour. How much do you want? A big cup or a small cup?
Oh, a big cup, please.
Now, do you want some milk?
Yes, just a little bit. Oh, a little bit more. That's enough. Thank you.
How many sugars do you want?
2, please. 1, 2.
Now, how closely were you listening? How much coffee did Brenton ask for? A big cup. How much milk did he ask for? A little bit. How much chocolate did he give me? A piece. And what did Brenton say when I had poured all the milk he wanted? That's enough. Listen to the attendant one more time.
Will that be all?
Yes, that will be all for today. We learned that how much is for quantities that you can weigh and measure, and that how many is used for things that you can count.
We found out that many also means a lot.
And that if you don't have any, you have none.
In our next episode, we'll find out how to say exactly where something is. Hello, and welcome again to Living English. Today, we'll look at reporting on something you did, and we'll look at more of the little words called prepositions. But first, let's see sisters and brothers. In the last episode, Anne was at the market. She was buying food to cook at Sarah's house when she thought she saw her brother. We catch up with her at the market when she comes across somebody else she knows.
Sorry.
Yeah?
Steve.
Fancy writing into you yet? Where off to in such a hurry?
Oh, nowhere. I thought I saw someone I know.
Oh, where?
Oh, it's okay. He's gone now. Must have made a mistake.
You got time for a coffee?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah? How about here? So what are you doing at the market?
I'm cooking at your house on Friday, remember?
Of course, Friday. That'll be great.
What about you? Do you come here often? What's funny?
When someone says, do you come here often, it's what we call a pick-up line. You know, when someone's
I know what a pickup line is.
Oh, sorry. I come here every week to buy fruit. I like fresh fruit for work. What are we having for dinner?
You'll find out on Friday.
Oh, tonight. Cappuccino? Yep. And a tea, please. Tea? No worries. Do you want me to take you shopping home? I can put it in the fridge for you.
No, that's okay. I have a fridge in my room at the hotel.
The person you saw, who did you think it was?
It's a long story. Maybe I'll tell you later.
On Friday?
Maybe.
Let's look first at how Steve and Anne meet and what they say to each other.
Sorry.
Yeah?
Steve.
Fancy writing into you? Where off to in such a hurry?
Oh, nowhere. I thought I saw someone I know.
First, Steve says, "Fancy running into you." He is surprised at meeting Anne by chance. To run into someone means to meet them by chance, not by arrangement. Practice saying, "Fancy running into you" with Steve.
Fancy writing into you?
Steve asks her a question. He says, "Where are you off to in such a hurry?" Where are you off to means the same as where are you going? Listen again to Anne's answer.
Oh, nowhere. I thought I saw someone I know.
We say, "I thought," to talk about ideas we have that might change or that we're not sure about. Anne says that she thought she saw someone she knows, but she isn't sure. Practice saying, "I thought I saw someone I know" with Anne.
Oh, nowhere. Oh, nowhere. I thought I saw someone I know.
Notice that this has two past tense verbs, "I thought" and "I saw," because both the thinking and the seeing took place in the past. Let's practice saying, "I thought I," with some other examples. Had my passport with me. I thought I had my passport with me. Phoned you yesterday. I thought I phoned you yesterday. Had plenty of time. I thought I had plenty of time. In all these examples, saying "I thought" really means that you now realize you were wrong. I thought can be used in another way, to tell someone else they are wrong. For example, I could say, "I thought I said don't be late." Try these examples. You had the keys. I thought you had the keys. He booked the hotel. I thought he booked the hotel. They said 10 o'clock. I thought they said 10 o'clock. Later, Anne admits to Steve that she thinks she was wrong. Listen to what she says.
I must have made a mistake.
Must have is short for must have. Practice saying, I must have made a mistake with Anne.
I must have made a mistake.
Another way of saying this is, I must have been mistaken. Say this after me. I must have been mistaken. And you can also just say, my mistake. Say this after me. My mistake. Steve asks Anne to have a coffee with him. Watch how he does this.
Have you got time for a coffee?
Have you got is the same as saying, do you have? So, have you got time for a coffee means, do you have time for a coffee? Practice saying this with Steve.
Have you got time for a coffee?
Steve is making a suggestion that they sit down and have a coffee. You could use this to make other suggestions too. Try saying, have you got time for these things? For a walk. Have you got time for a walk? To talk. Have you got time to talk? Look at another way Steve makes a suggestion.
How about you?
Fine.
When Steve says, how about here, he's making a suggestion. How about means, what do you think about? Or, is this okay? You can use how about to make any suggestion. It's fairly informal. Try these ones after me. How about going to the movies? How about a cup of coffee? So if you say, how about a cup of coffee to someone, it's the same as saying, let's have a cup of coffee. When Steve says, how about here, he means, let's sit here. And Anne agrees by saying, fine. Fine is the same as okay.
Do you mind if I sit here?
Oh, that's fine. Hello, Michelle.
Hello, Brenton. Hello, everyone. Fancy seeing you here.
Well, how are you?
Well, all right, but I need to go to the dentist tomorrow and I haven't got time.
How come?
Well, here's tomorrow on my diary. As you can see, it's fairly full.
So where will you be at 10 o'clock?
At the hairdresser's. I'll be there for 2 hours.
Really? Where will you be at 1 o'clock?
At the supermarket. I must get my shopping done.
Where will you be at 3 o'clock?
At the hospital. I must visit my aunt, who's very ill.
You're right, you can't go to the dentist.
I'm okay with that.
Let's look at when we use at before names of places. First listen to Steve and Anne.
So what are you doing at the market?
I'm cooking at your house on Friday, remember?
Steve asks Anne what she's doing at the market. And Anne reminds him she is going to cook dinner at his house.
Why doesn't she say in the market and in the house?
Sometimes you can use in, but we use at when we're talking about a place such as an address, a type of business, or a place outside. Say these ones after me. At home. At work. At the office. At school. At 23 Mitchell Street. At the bus stop.
What about in?
In can only refer to something which is enclosed.
Like a room?
Yes. Or something which has an inside and an outside. So we always use in for cities or towns and countries.
So we are in Australia?
Yes, because we're not out of Australia. Repeat these after me. In Tokyo. In China. In the kitchen. In the water. In the supermarket.
Before you said at the supermarket.
At can mean inside or outside. In can only mean inside. We've already seen at used for times. At 10 o'clock. Now, remember at and in are called prepositions.
What other prepositions can we use to describe where something or somebody is?
First, let's look at another part of today's story.
Do you want me to take your shopping home? I can put it in the fridge for you.
No, that's okay. I have a fridge in my room at the hotel.
They both talked about putting the food in the fridge. Fridge is short for refrigerator, a place to keep food cold. Again, we use in to talk about an enclosed space that has an inside and an outside, and also says in my room. Here's a box, Brenton, and an apple. You tell me where the apple is.
It's in the box.
Now, where is it?
It's on the box.
We could also say it's on top of the box. And where's the box?
It's under the apple.
Now, if I hold the apple here,
It's above the box. Or we could say it's over the box.
and where's the box?
It's beneath the apple. Or we could say it's below the apple.
So we use on and under when the apple and the box are touching. But when they're not, we use over or above and beneath or below.
So I would say the plane is flying above the ground and worms are beneath the ground.
Let's revise. You say where the apple is.
In the box. On the box. Over the box or above the box.
Now say where the box is.
Under the apple. Beneath the apple or below the apple.
There's two more to learn. What am I doing now, Brenton?
You're putting the apple into the box.
Into. We use into when talking about actions. Putting the apple into the box. Going into the house. Getting into the car. And what am I doing now?
You're putting the apple onto the box.
Onto is used for actions too.
Well, we're out of time again.
And we'll be back next episode when we'll be looking at describing objects and the phrase might have been.
Hello, and welcome to Living English. Today, we'll be talking about possibilities and how to describe objects. And in our drama, Anne goes to see John, the private investigator she has hired to find her brother. She thinks she's seen her brother at the market.
I thought I saw David at the market, but I didn't get a very good look and I lost him in the crowd.
Oh, when was this?
Just yesterday.
How long since you've seen him?
Nearly 2 years.
Are you sure you'd recognise him now?
Of course. He's my brother.
It's just, I'm thinking he might have changed his appearance if he didn't want to be found.
Mr. Barber, I would recognise my brother, believe me.
Of course, I'm sorry. Maybe you did see him at the market. It's just, you've been thinking about him a lot. The mind plays tricks, you know.
Suppose so. Maybe it wasn't him. I don't know.
Is there anything that would positively identify him? A jewellery, a scar, anything?
His watch. My father gave it to him. He always wears it.
Can you describe it?
It's an old-fashioned watch, an Omega. It was our grandfather's.
What's the band made of?
Silver. And the watch has an inscription. It says, "To my son, Norman."
Norman?
That's our father's name. Grandfather gave it to him.
Norman.
In Chinese.
In Chinese.
He might have a neckband. I gave it to him as a going-away present.
What's it like?
It's made of tortoiseshell. It's a disc with a design like this.
Oh, yin yang.
That's right, you know it. The band is made of leather. He said he'd always wear it.
Yes, well, it's just not much, but it's something, I suppose. I'll call you next week with some news.
I hope so.
Will they find David? You'll have to keep watching to find out. We'll start today with the words we use to talk about things that are possible. We call something that is possible a possibility. A possibility is something we think is going to happen, but we are not certain is going to happen. You can say, "It will rain today," if you are certain that rain is coming. But if you're not certain, if you think that it could also not rain, you say, "It might rain today." "It might rain today" is talking about a possibility. We can also use the word might to talk about things that were possible in the past. Listen to what John says about Anne's brother.
It's just, I'm thinking he might have changed his appearance if he didn't want to be found.
He might have changed his appearance. This doesn't mean that he has changed the way he looks. It means that it's possible that sometime in the past he has changed his appearance. It's also possible that he hasn't changed his appearance. When we use might to talk about the past, we always use it with have. He might have changed. Now listen to John talk about the possibility that Anne saw her brother at the market.
Maybe you did see him at the market.
Maybe you did see him. Maybe is one of the words with the same meaning as might. It means it's possible that. It's possible that you did see him. He could also have said, perhaps you did see him. But you can't use the word might with simple past tenses. The past tense of I see you is I saw you, or I did see you. You can't use might with saw or did see. You must use the past participle. This is the form of a verb used with have. The past participle of see is seen. I have seen you. So instead of saying, maybe you did see him, John could have said, you might have seen him. In regular verbs, or when the ed ending is used to form the past tense, such as in the word changed, the past participle has the same form. Changed is the simple past tense and the past participle. He changed. He might have changed. Try saying, he might have changed his appearance with the clip.
It's just, I'm thinking... It's just, I'm thinking he might have changed his appearance.
The word have can also mean owning something. So when we say someone might have something, it can mean they might own it. I have a watch. And David, Anne's brother, what does he have? Listen.
He might have a neckband.
He might have a neckband means that it's possible that he has a neckband now. Now it's time to think about how we tell people what things look like. Listen to Anne describing her brother's watch.
It's an old-fashioned watch, an Amiga. It was our grandfather's.
What's the band made of?
Silver. And the watch has an inscription. It says, "To my son, Norman."
We've looked at describing things before on Living English. We use adjectives to describe an object's colour and size. But we also tell people things about objects without using adjectives. First, Anne describes the watch using an adjective. See if you can guess what it is.
It's an old-fashioned watch.
It's old-fashioned. She means it's made in a style that isn't modern. Now listen to how she says the same thing without using an adjective.
It was our grandfather's.
Because it's her grandfather's, it's probably old-fashioned. Listen as she tells us what's special about the watch.
And the watch has an inscription. It says, "To my son, Norman."
Now listen to Anne describe the neckband she gave to her brother.
It's made of tortoiseshell. It's a disc with a design like this.
What's tortoiseshell? Here's Michelle to help us. Hello, Michelle.
Hello, Brenton. Hello, everyone. Tortoiseshell is a yellow and brown mottled material, like this hair clip. It used to be made from the shell of a turtle called the tortoiseshell turtle. But now it can be made of plastic.
So this is plastic tortoiseshell.
Yes.
Now listen to what the bit of David's neckband that goes around the neck is made of.
The band is made of leather.
This bag is also made of leather. Now, I've got a few things here that are made of different materials. You tell me what material they are made of, and at home, put it in a sentence, such as, the bag is made of leather. First, the vase.
Glass.
The vase is made of glass. Next, the spoon.
Steel.
The spoon is made of steel. The cup.
China.
The cup is made of china. The T-shirt.
Cotton.
The T-shirt is made of cotton. The book.
Paper.
The book is made of paper. Now you ask the questions, like this. The book.
What's the book made of?
It's made of paper. The spoon.
What's the spoon made of?
It's made of steel. The bag.
What's the bag made of?
It's made of leather.
What metal is the band of the watch that Anne's brother always wears?
What's the band made of?
Silver.
It's made of silver. Silver is another metal. It's an expensive metal, or a precious metal. What's another precious metal, Brenton?
Gold.
We have some things made of different materials. Let's describe their properties and see if you can guess what they are made of and what object it is.
What are properties?
Well, we'll find out. First, it's hard, it's transparent, and it breaks easily.
What does transparent mean?
You can see through it. It's clear.
Then the material must be... It must be glass. It's the vase.
Okay. This one is shiny, it's hard, it's opaque, and it comes from a mineral. Opaque means you can't see through it.
What do you think it is? It's a metal. It's steel. So the object is the spoon.
It's another metal. It's shiny, but it's pliable.
Pliable?
You can bend it easily.
Then it's tin. And we call this object a tin because it's made of tin.
It's pliable, it's soft, it stretches, and it comes from a plant.
That must be the T-shirt. It's made of cotton.
And finally, it's pliable, it's dull in colour, it doesn't stretch, and it comes from an animal.
Then it's the bag, which is made of leather.
As well as saying things are made of a material, we can use the names of the material as adjectives.
How do we do that?
Well, this is a bag. It's made of leather. So what sort of bag is it?
It's a leather bag.
And what sort of vase is it?
It's a glass vase.
And what sort of T-shirt is it?
It's a cotton T-shirt.
What about the book?
We don't say it's a paper book because books are always paper. But I would call this a paper bag.
What about the spoon?
Well, this is a metal spoon or a steel spoon. But what about this one?
It's not a wood spoon, but a wooden spoon. The adjective from the word wood is wooden.
Well, that's enough for today. We learned how to use might and might have and the names of some common materials.
Next time, we'll look at visiting the doctor.
And the present perfect continuous tense.